Hi again. Today I'm back with the latest batch of the feather carbons I made the other day. On there is around about, I weighed the cell before 10.93. I weighed it afterwards, so we have a difference of 1.66, but it hasn't got the 1.66 because total amount of feather carbon was 1 gram. 0.5 grams of the zinc hexacyanoferrate and 0.2 grams of graphite was added to the mix. So that's 1.7 grams, and I made 2 cells. I have 1 cell already set up. I've given it like a charge this morning of 1 minute, where I've been holding 1.5 for most of the day without any discharging. I've also tried it with the zinc plate. I'm trying carbon and carbon pad now. I have a bit of chucks as a, electrolyte holder because the binder's cellulose acetate, so there's probably like 1 gram of binder on each and 0.66 carbon on that one, and the other one's got 0.63 carbons, which is like 63% of 1 gram worth of the carbon. And on the data logger, got it set to 30 milliamps. I'll give it a charge because it's just been sitting around all day. So I'll set the monitor. The carbon one only takes like about 10 to 20 minutes to charge. It drops in milliamps straight away. I've got the charger set on around about 2 volts, just above by that needle. There's like 30 ohms of resistance on that cellulose separator, so probably not pumping a lot in. So I'll start the monitor, and hopefully, yep, data logger's working. Okay, alright, we're doing 89 milliamps into the cell at 2.5 volts, and that rapidly drops off to 0 with the double carbon, which is a capacitor type sort of setup, I guess. With the zinc, it sort of stays at 14 milliamps after an hour and doesn't go down any further. So we'll see how it runs. So it had some unique properties, that feather carbon. It was sort of attracted to magnet. It's using the zinc sulfate from the very first cell we used, that electrolyte. That just saved me mixing up some. Yeah, there, we dropped off rapidly in milliamps, so we're probably nearly fully charged. I'll get back when it's hit 0. Okay, I'm back. It's been on charge for 38 minutes. It's got different characteristics to yesterday. Sort of had a wobbly fit here for some reason. I added some extra electrolyte, maybe that was the reason. But yesterday when I was charging it up, it'd only go for 10 minutes and it'd drop it to 0 on the milliamp usage, so maybe it's formed a bit better. It does have zinc hexacyanoferrate on the positive side, blended into the carbon, so I'll just take it off charge, swap the leads over. Okay, we should have a voltage now. Yep, 2.2, stop monitoring. And we'll do our 30 milliamp load test. Voltage is higher today. Alright, I'll leave it to do its thing. Get back, I think it goes for about 20 minutes, maybe. That's how it was doing it yesterday. Alright, I'll be back. Okay, back, 11 minutes, we're still running. We're holding 1.7 volts, 30 milliamp load. We're currently at 10 milliwatt hours, 6 milliamp hours. So for 0.63 grams of the feather carbon, that's not too bad. That's one of the reasons I'm showing it. It's really high on power density or weight ratio. Alright, I'll get back. Okay, back. 27 minutes it ran for. 23 milliwatt hours, and 14 milliamp hours. So not too bad for small amount of carbon. And 1.7 volts as a return. Let's see if it runs again, just out of curiosity. So it sort of runs but drops out really quickly. So yeah, it's pretty much depleted. I won't worry about draining it completely. I've run out of time for a test, so I'll test it again tomorrow and see if we get the same results. So it's looking probably about 27 watt hours per kilo on that carbon. Maybe increasing the content of zinc hexacyanoferrate to 1 gram as well, maybe. I'll try that on another day, but I'll also test this one in this video. That's the second cell to see if it's the same. It should be the same batch of carbon mix. Alright, till then. Back the next day with the feather carbon cell and the zinc hexacyanoferrate. I haven't added any electrolyte. I'm going to keep it like that. It was added yesterday. The chuck still feels pretty damp, but it's going stiff. For some reason we're at 0.5 volts. So if it doesn't perform, I might pop it apart and add some electrolyte. So I'll set up a monitor and we'll put a charge on. Okay, charging. Alright, we spiked out 100 milliamps, I think. And we're at 2.5 volts. And on the analog meter there, yeah, it's about 2.5. Alright, I'll leave it for a while until the milliamps goes down till its lowest point. I have a theory that the electrolyte was stopping it from going right down the other day, because when I first charged it, milliamps dropped right off after a while, after about 6 minutes. And it may have been drier. I think the electrolyte does something like that. So we'll see in a minute. Alright, till then. Okay, the voltage went up to 2.6 and it's starting to drop now, so I reckon I'll just leave it at that. It's climbing again, but it's been uncharged for 49 minutes. So we'll just disconnect and swap the ends over. We'll probably drop right down. Okay. Alright, we should have voltage. 2.2, that's looking okay. I got a 20 milliamp load now to see if it's actually going to run longer. Just to see if the amperage draw was too much for the cell. Alright, we're at 2 volts, dropping. We seem to be dropping in voltage quickly. Alright, I'll let it run. Okay, the voltage went up to 2.6 and it's starting to drop now, so I reckon I'll just leave it at that. It's climbing again, but it's been uncharged for 49 minutes. So we'll just disconnect and swap the ends over. We'll probably drop right down. Okay. Alright, we should have voltage. 2.2, that's looking okay. I got a 20 milliamp load now to see if it's actually going to run longer. Just to see if the amperage draw was too much for the cell. Alright, we're at 2 volts, dropping. We seem to be dropping in voltage quickly. Alright, I'll let it run. Okay, back. The cell ran for an hour on 20 milliamp load. 32 milliwatt hours and 21 milliamp hours. So pretty much a bit longer run time, around about the same energy density. So interesting. I'm going to try the zinc plate now and I'll set that up and I'll get back. I'll add a little bit of electrolyte to the toweling in this one. Okay, we have the zinc plate disconnected. I got the carbon on the back there just as a support because the zinc doesn't clamp down without anything solid on the back of it. We're at 0.8 uncharged. I'll keep the same charge setting. Just clear the curve. And set monitor and connect the power. Alright, we'll do about 50 minutes again. Alright, we're 191 milliamps, so that seems to be a bit higher than with the carbon plate. Don't forget the carbon plate's only graphite pad without anything on it. This is that other electrode. Spare one. I had some graphite, but I want that for some other experiment, so I won't use that. Alright, I'll be back. I almost missed it. It's been uncharged for 55 minutes. This is the zinc plate version. I just swapped over the negative electrodes, so we'll disconnect the power. And connect the other end. Okay, we should have voltage. Yep, 2.2, so that's still good. Starting our 20 milliamp run on a zinc plate. Actually, the zinc one looks like it's holding its voltage, 2.1 so far. There you go, something different. I thought it would have been the other way around. But in this case, the zinc is performing better. Alright, I'll get back. Okay, the results are in from the zinc plate cell version. Slightly up, we're at 1 hour and 18 minute run time. 40 milliwatt hours, that's about 8 milliwatt hours higher. And 27 milliamp hours. So not a too bad run. A little bit different in run time and power capacity. Probably a bit more zinc ions can travel through the cell perhaps. But which one would last the longest, I'm not sure. Maybe the carbon one probably in the long run. But there we go. I'll probably test that cell too, but I'm going to crush up some of that stuff, which was also in the feather carbon mix, and give that a go at the flat versions. So alright, until then, I'll get back. Okay, back with our second test. This time we're using this carbon, which came out of the same batch as the feather carbon. That there plate weighed before applying the same amount of mixture, which was 1.7 total of carbon, had 2 grams of 2 grams of cellulose acetate added as the binder. So the graphite pad weighed 10.27, and after applying the same portion of mix, which was 1 gram of that carbon over there, 0.5 grams of the zinc hexacyanoferrate, and 0.2 grams of graphite, weighed in at 11.19 for that cell, which is, take that from that, we get 0.9 plus. That's got the binder and the carbon in it, so probably not so much carbon on it. Probably about 0.5, a bit less, 0.4 perhaps. And the other one, graphite pad we're using, I've got set up at the moment. I haven't done a charge, I've just added some electrolyte. So it's probably still dry inside. It was 8.39 after applying, 9.46, so we got 1.09 total with binder plus carbon. So that's probably still a little bit thicker maybe. Hang on. Okay, I'll just connect the data logger. Probably won't have any voltage. Oh, it does, 0.7. Last time I did the carbon to carbon, nothing was showing up. Alright, I'll set. We'll do 20 milliamps again. Cut off voltage 0.5. And same charge setting. I think it was like 2.5 or 2.4. Alright, charging up. Connecting power now. Alright, we're 200 milliamps in this one, so maybe a bit higher in performance. Too early to tell though, the cell's probably still dry. Probably start performing tomorrow or afterwards, after it soaks in through the cellulose acetate membrane, which I'm using as a binder. So I'll give that a charge of, I don't know, 50 minutes, we'll see what happens. Or until that drops down to a significant value, the milliamps. Alright, I'll be back. It's been 58 minutes on charge, not dropping too much now. It's been holding 2.6. Well, I'll just disconnect the charge. Reattach the other end. Okay, we should have a voltage. 2.2, not too bad. Alright, 20 milliamp run, turn monitoring off. Starting our test, first test, dry cell probably. Well, we're sort of up. We're looking actually alright. Maybe that carbon's a bit better than the feather carbon. We'll see how it goes anyway. Still at 2 volts. Dropping quickly. Alright, I'll get back. Okay, 38-minute runtime on that one, 58-minute charge it was, 20 milliwatt hours. That's about the same as the very first lot of carbons on the first day. So it's probably dry, hasn't worked its way through yet. So I'll get back in a couple of days and give it another test. I'll give it some electrolyte each day. And it should start getting a bit better. Maybe, unless the carbon's not as good as the feather carbon. We'll find out. Alright, until then. Okay, I'm back with the second charge on that carbon cell, which is down here. I'll put another copper pad on the other side just in case. It might make a difference than just an alligator clip on the carbon. It's been soaked over the weekend, so it's the third day now, soaked. And I'll disconnect the charge and connect the other end. Okay, where's the lead? Okay, we should have a voltage now. Nope. Oh, wrong lead, don't worry, it's me. We should have a voltage now. Yep, alright, we're looking good. We're 2.2 and I've fiddled around a bit. Stop the monitoring. Start a run. We're doing 20 milliamps again. Alright, we'll see how it goes. The carbon should be soaked with the electrolyte now over 3 days. Alright, I'll be back. Got to say it's a carbon that one. We haven't done the zinc plate on that carbon yet, so we'll see how she goes. Okay, only 39 minutes on an hour's charge. 20 milliwatt hours, 13 milliamp hours, so it's down actually. I'll give it another charge just in case, and I'll get back. Okay, hour and 12 minutes, and it's sort of been sitting at 50 milliamps for 20 minutes, so I'm not sure. So I'll disconnect the charge, connect the other end of the data logger. Okay, we should have a voltage, yep. Stop monitoring and run our load. Oh, alright, we're spiking. Alright, I'll let it run. This is the third run of the cell. Okay, 24 minutes on that run, so not looking good. Just checking the copper pad. There you go. That was the one I put underneath. Some electrolyte must have got in there. So get rid of that. Probably a bad idea. Alright, I'll try tomorrow without the copper pad on the bottom because it's got some electrolyte got under there. So I thought that might have been the case. So I'll let that dry out, clean it off, and repeat the experiment. I'll be back. Okay, the cell's back in action, I think. Now I've cleaned the copper pad underneath and the surface on both. That one, see how dirty that got from the electrolyte spillage? I switched it around. So no electrolyte under there today. I just put a bare minimum. Alright, we've been on charge for an hour. We haven't dropped past 26 milliamps for over 20 minutes at least. I'll disconnect the charge and connect the other end of the data logger. It's annoying how you have to unconnect and swap over the leads, but either way. Alright, we should have voltage. Black lead. Probably had the wrong lead connected. Alright, we got voltage. There we go. Alright, we're 20 milliamps again. Hopefully we get more than 20 something minutes on the cell. Alright, we're holding 2 volts at the moment. Looking good. And I'll be back. Okay, back. Only 36-minute run time and 18 milliwatt hours and 12 milliamp hours, so it's not looking so good. I'll just check that copper pad. There's a little bit of colouring, but it's quite dry, so it's not that doing it, I don't think. I'll just attach the alligator clip to the carbon pad again instead and give it another try and see if it's still down. Okay. Just got it connected to the graphite pad. It's wet, but it's not performing as well as the feather carbon for some reason. Okay, so I'll charge it up again for another hour and I'll get back and see. Okay, it's been an hour. This will be the last run for today. I'm running out of time. Swapping leads over. Okay, we should have a voltage. Yep. Stop the monitoring and run. Hopefully we get a bit more than 30 minutes. Maybe not. Alright, I'll be back. Okay, slightly higher run, 41 minutes and 20 milliwatt hours, so about 10 milliwatt hours less than the feather carbon version. So we'll try the zinc plate. I'll set that up, give it an hour's charge and I'll get back. Okay, we've been on charge with the zinc plate as a negative electrode for 59 minutes 45, so nearly an hour. I'll just disconnect the charge. And we'll see how well this one performs with a zinc plate. Where's negative? Okay, we should have voltage. Yep, 2.2. We're slightly higher with the zinc plate. Starting 20 milliamp run now. Alright, we'll see if we get more than 30 minutes to 41 minutes worth of run time. Okay, back with the results with the zinc plate version of the cell. And only 42 minutes, 21 milliwatt hours, so we're only like not very much difference in the carbon or the dual carbon and the zinc on this carbon. So it looks like the feather carbon is a winner, but we have a higher bounce back with the zinc plate connected. It's 1.2. I don't think it will run. Oh yeah, so there's still a bit of power left in it, but it diminishes quite quickly. Alright. So stop that making noise. And so going by those results, I made up a larger batch of feather carbons. I covered this whole cell. I accidentally put too much binder in it. What do we got? We got 0.5 graphite, 1 gram of feathers and 1 gram of zinc hexacyanoferrate in that cell. So we had about 2.5 grams, and I put the entire content except for the stuff that's stuck in the jar. You can see it, you can't get it all out, onto there. So we're looking at probably 2.3 grams worth of carbon on that plate. So since it's got 3 grams of binder, I accidentally spilt too much and then I couldn't get it out of there. I'll start wetting it now, ready for a couple of days time for the test, so it might absorb a bit more electrolyte over a couple of days before we use it. So this one might be interesting because I've upped the gram. Instead of 0.5 of a gram of the zinc hexacyanoferrate, 1 gram. So I'll put that on the video as well. That'll be a couple of days away or something. Alright, I'll be back with those results. Okay, the cell with the 2.5 grams of carbon, feather carbon one, with 1 gram of zinc hexacyanoferrate in the mix as well. It's been on charge for 1 hour and 26, I forgot the charge. We've dropped down to 18 milliamps. So I'll just disconnect the charge and we'll see how it runs with a bit extra feather carbon and a bit extra zinc hexacyanoferrate. Hopefully we get a good run with a bit of luck. Okay, our voltage is 2.2. That's looking good. Disconnecting, 20 milliamp load again. Starting. It was soaked overnight with a bit of electrolyte on top of the shuts pad, just to help it absorb into it, so it should be fully absorbed maybe. Seems to be dropping quickly, but we'll see if it stabilises around about 1.5. Theoretically it should run a bit longer than the first feather carbon cell we tested. That only had 0.5 grams of the zinc hexacyanoferrate. This one has 1 gram, so a bit extra material. Fingers crossed. Here we go. Half hour update, or nearly 29 minutes. It's holding 1.7 volts steady. It's looking good actually. Right, we'll see how long it can actually do that for. Okay, back. Not a bad run for the first charge on the cell. It's a 1 hour and 45 minute run time, 53 milliwatt hours and 36 milliamp hours. Don't forget I accidentally put 3 grams of the binder in it, which is cellulose acetate, which made that surface of the carbon 134 ohms in resistance, so that was overkill. It could probably go up in voltage on the charge, but we'll keep it at the same. I've run out of time for now. I might be able to get back later and give it a second charge. So it's looking good for the feather carbon, and we have a voltage bounce back of 1.3 and sort of climbing maybe. No, it's going to sit there for a while. Oh yeah, it's climbing. Not a bad looking curve. Alright, I'll get back on another charge. Okay, I got time for another charge. Just connecting, I'll set the monitor. So after that run, we're back at 1.4 volts as a thing. And see, we're only 77 milliamps going into the cell. That's because of the higher resistance on the plate. So I think I'll take it up to 3 volts. Alright, we're just above, we're 3 volts on the analog. If it's going to focus. And 3.3 there, 181 milliamps. So that's getting through the thick cellulose acetate. I accidentally put 3 grams of the binder. It only needs 2 grams. Probably you could go less and water it down again with acetone. This batch had 200 cigarette butts to the jar full of about 500 mils of acetone. Sort of a concentrated mix. I sort of add 2 grams and then add 4 mils of acetone and mix it around. Makes it sort of sloshy and you just pour it over the cell. Alright, so we're slowly decreasing, so I'll leave it at that and try about an hour and see what happens. There's no bubbling. That cell's quite quiet. So due to the high resistance, had 134 ohms over that surface, where the other one, these other cells are only 34 ohms with the 2 grams. So much less. Alright, I'll be back. Okay, back with the second charge. It's been on for an hour and 4 minutes. We're going down to 104 milliamps and slightly higher voltage. Disconnecting the charge. Whoops. Okay, connecting the other end of the data logger. And we should have a voltage. Alright, we're slightly up, 2.3. And dropping. Alright, starting our run, 20 milliamps. Second charge. Oh, it's fluctuating. Oh. Doing that weird stuff again. Probably got to stabilize maybe. Alright, are we back? Alright, I think I overcharged the cell. It dropped right down to 1.4, but it's been holding around there for a while now, 34 minutes. Probably shouldn't have dropped that quickly. I'd imagine it was dry. By the end of the hour's charge it was crackling that cell, so yeah, I'll drop this charge down next time. We'll see how long we get. But we might not get as long as we originally did. Okay, back. Almost 2 hours, 1 hour and 53 minutes, and it's going up and down. Took a nosedive here. And we're at 48 milliwatt hours. We're a bit down because of the voltage is dropped because I think I dried it out too much. So another day I'll put it back to 2.5 or 2.3 or whatever it is, and give it a proper test. Maybe charge it longer if it's not high in milliamps. So still not too bad, but I would have expected a bit more out of 2.5 grams thereabouts. The binder could be interfering a lot, probably. Alright, we'll see how it goes another day. Okay, back with the cell again. This was the 2.5 gram one. After yesterday I dried it out. It was dried, the separator was stuck to the negative plate, and again I had electrolyte seepage under the copper pad, but it still ran for not a bad time. I backed off the voltage to 3. Just under 3 if that's focusing. And it's gone up steadily to 3.1, so I'll disconnect the charge, connect the other end. I added electrolyte as well because it was quite dry. There was more electrolyte under the copper pad than there was on the separator this morning. So we're at 2.3 volts, dropping, starting our test, so it's a bit better. Alright, I'll leave it at that and we'll see what we get. Should be about an hour and 50 minutes, or maybe hopefully more. Okay, our run's complete. We got 155 minutes. 1 hour and 55 minutes, I should say, out of the cell. 49 milliwatt hours, 39 milliamp hours. Slightly down. I'm going to go back to 2.5 volts and see what happens. And I'll add a little bit of electrolyte. I'll check the contacts. I reckon it's it leaks through the graphite pad eventually. So I'll give it a clean up and I'll recharge for an hour and see what happens. Okay, for the 5th charge, oh, what happened? The voltage just dropped, oh, short circuit. I touched the lead. Alright, I'll disconnect that power supply, I bumped the power lead and it touched the other one. Go figure that out. Alright, connect the other end of the data logger. So I was on charge for an hour at lower voltage, 2.5-ish. Where's the other lead? Okay, we should have a voltage. Alright, our last run for the day. Starting discharge 20 milliamps. Alright, I don't have an electrolyte smell. And it seems to be a bit more stable on the running when there's not so high a voltage going through the cell. And the last run, the bottom contact was all wet again, so it's going through the plate, or it's leaking down the sides, I don't know. I didn't put too much, but the separator's overhanging, so it may drip. So the copper contact's a bad idea. It was actually more wetter there than on the other side of the cell, so yeah. Alright, I'll be back. I think it's responding much better with a lower charge voltage. So it's 23 minutes and it's 1.7, still holding good. I think it dropped down to 1.4 last time with the 3.5 and 3 volt charge. So yeah, I don't think it likes the higher voltage, might be breaking down the electrolyte too much. Or it could have been because the electrolyte went under the pad again as well. It's hard to say what's causing the issues. It was damp though, extremely wet. So it's a hassle. Yeah, I'll update later. Okay, back. We're consistent with 1 hour and 44 minutes. 51 milliwatt hours and 35 milliamp hours. So it's looking around about that is the limit of the cell. I'll try another one charge later, and if it matches we'll go to the zinc plate and see what happens. Alright, till then. Okay, testing out that new cell with the 11 ohms resistance on it with only 1 gram of binder. It's been on charge for an hour and 27 minutes. It was only at 38 milliamps draw, and it slowly has gone down to 9 milliamps. Voltage peaked at 2.4. I only have it set on 2 here, so it's sort of gone past the charge controller, so I'll disconnect the charge. I'll connect the other end. Okay, we should have voltage, hopefully. Here. Wrong lead. Alright, we should have voltage now. Yep, okay. So it was wet. I soaked it with electrolyte for about 45 minutes, so it might be still dry. It's the first charge, starting 20 milliamps. Okay, hopefully with less binder in it, it will run actually a bit longer. I think it was about 45 minutes to 50 minutes at 20 milliamps in the other version. Well, it had 138 ohms on it. Alright, I'll get back. Okay, it's looking quite impressive actually. We've almost got 1 hour and it was almost holding 1.7 volts for an hour, which isn't too bad. We've already almost exceeded the other cell, which had too much binder. So binder is an issue. For cellulose acetate, it's not too bad. Still probably got another hour in it, so we're looking good. And there's about 2 grams of carbon, because I'm going to try to improve it. This is just a standard aquarium activated carbon. It's the same content. It's got like 2 grams of activated carbon, 0.5 grams of graphite, 1 gram of binder. And I weighed the cell, the graphite plate, what was 10.89, and then after applying it was 12.97, which leaves 2.08 of active material plus binder per cell. So we're looking at about 2 grams of active material. This will be the negative side of that plate in a minute. or whenever that test runs out, or tomorrow, whatever that will be. So hopefully that adding carbon onto the graphite pad, because that's just a standard graphite pad for the negative electrode, should help. And I got my my 8 water heat sinks for the thermal device. So I got 2 already, that makes 10 of them. They should sit on top of the cell perfectly now, and hopefully I can get my 2 volts, maybe, per module. Bit of luck. So yeah, this is holding out quite well. So feather carbon's looking good. And it's only zinc sulfate as the electrolyte. I'll be back. Okay, interesting discharge curve. It got to a point and just dropped straight down. We got 41 milliwatt hours and 24 milliamp hours, and an hour and 11 minute run on its first cycle. Interesting. I'll try another cycle on it a bit later before I add the carbon negative electrode, and we'll see if it does the same. I'll be back. Very interesting indeed. I just added some electrolyte and it went to 1.8 volts, which is really high, especially after a discharge. Maybe it dried out and it wasn't quite wet, that carbon. So I'll reset the graph and put it on charge. And I'm wondering if it actually takes more of a milliamp draw. Okay, where's the other lead? Here it is. Okay, got to swap the data logger over to give it a charge. Start the monitoring, connecting power now. Okay, we're 100 milliamps now. Same setting on the charger. So maybe it's getting more wet, that carbon. It was only soaked for about 35 to 40 minutes this morning, so it's been about 5 hours now. Alright, I'll leave that and I'll get back. Okay, back, second run of the cell. It was on charge for an hour and a half. So far, hour and 10 minutes, and we're holding 1.7 volts quite well. So it's looking good. I think the second lot of electrolyte going in there made a difference. This time it was 100 milliamps on the low draw, down to 20 something. So it's looking okay. Wonder if it drops really rapidly after it gets to 1.5 or so. Well, so far we're at 44 milliwatt hours and 24 milliamp hours. Interesting. I think it might be my best cell to date. We'll see anyway. So 2 grams of carbon, zinc hexacyano 1 gram, feather carbon 1 gram, and 0.5 of graphite in the mix. Oh, and 1 gram of binder. Seems to work well. I might be able to cut the binder down a little bit maybe. I'll have a play around with it, see if I can use 2.5 grams of material and say 0.5 binder. Alright, I'll get back. Okay, the end cycle of the second run, we got 70 milliwatt hours, or 71 milliwatt hours and 42 milliamp hours out of it, with a 2-hour run time, and a voltage bounce back which is still going up, 1.3, which is quite high for the cell, but again we dropped right off. We didn't produce much energy from where is it, from 1.6, so our range is like 1.9 down to 1.6, and then it just sort of drops. So it's probably, is it a battery? I think so, because it's dropping straight off when it gets down to its depleted area. But it's an all carbon battery. There's no material on the negative side, just the graphite pad. This may change its performance. It may make it better or worse. I'll try that out at a later date. So it's looking not too bad for the feather carbon. Oh, we're 1.4. It's probably dry. If I add electrolyte, it'll probably go up again to like 1.8. So I'll leave it for now, and I'll get back with some other tests. Okay, what we're looking at here is our new negative electrode for our cell. It's aquarium activated carbon with 2 grams of the aquarium activated carbon, 0.5 grams of graphite, and 1 gram of binder. I was quite impressed. The resistance from there to over here was 3 ohms, so that's looking good. It takes a bit for the electrolyte. If you can sort of see it, it's still on the top. It's been soaking for like that. I just put a few drops on top. It's been like that for about 30 hours. So I think it's in there. Or hopefully it is. Could take longer to absorb, but bit of luck, we're ready. So I'll stick it on charge, and we'll get back and see how it runs with double carbon layers. Okay, we've been on charge for 1 hour and 28 minutes. So I'll disconnect the charge, swap over the ends of the leads, and data logger. Okay, we should have voltage. Yep, 2.2, we're looking good there. Got our 20 milliamp load again, and starting a discharge. Okay, so far so good. We look like we're slightly higher on our voltage. We normally drop down to 1.9. Alright, I'll be back. Okay, back after the first run of the carbon coated negative electrode. That changed the cell's discharge graph dramatically. It sort of holds a lot of lower voltage, but it's not quite as good at the moment. Could be still dry maybe. And we've only got 1 hour and 23 minute run time, 38 milliwatt hours and 28 milliamp hours. So we're completely down, but it's the first charge. So I'll soak the plate again, the negative one as well, for a couple of days, and see what happens when I get a chance to give it another charge. Okay, we're at the second charge on the cell with the activated carbon on the negative side. We've been on charge for 1 hour and 31 minutes. I'll just disconnect the charger. And connect it to the data logger. Okay, we should have a voltage. Yep, we're at 2.2. It's looking better. I think it took 48 hours for the electrolyte to soak into that binder on that carbon, because it was a lot wetter today. And we're holding our voltage 2.2. We're ready for a discharge of 20 milliamps starting now. Okay, if it's performing better, we should get our 2 hours on it or more. Or even 2 hours would be good. Our voltage seems to be dropping well, quickly. But we're slightly up on voltage. We would be normally 1.9. Okay, I'll let it do its thing and I'll get back. Okay, back. It's ran for 1 hour and 13 minutes, 33 milliwatt hours, 25 milliamp hours. It's not looking that good with the carbon on the negative side. It performed way better with just the graphite pad. So I'll give it another charge and we'll see how it goes. But it's looking pretty poor. So I'll stop it. And even the voltage bounce back is low. It was sitting at 1 point something before. Alright, I'll add a little bit of extra electrolyte and give it another hour and a half on charge and I'll be back. Okay, this was the fourth discharge of the cell, 41 milliwatt hours, 30 milliamp hours, so it's still not as good with the carbon on the negative side. I'll give it a few more charges, not now, but later, and see if it improves. If not, I'll swap the carbon for a further carbon on the negative and see what that does. Okay, back with the fifth charge. I put the charger up to, oh, if we can see that, just under the 3 volts. We've climbed up past 3 volts. I've failed to take in consideration adding that carbon to the negative electrode increased its resistance. It was 3 ohms, where with just a graphite pad it's 1 ohm, so I put up the voltage just to see if that's going to change the outcome of the charge. And we've been on charge for 1 hour and 41. I'll just disconnect. Okay. Connect the other end. If I can find the leads. Okay, we should have a voltage now. In a minute. Yep, we're at higher voltage. We're 2.5, so that looks good. I'll just stop the monitoring if I can find the mouse. And we got 20 milliamps again, and we'll see what happens this run. Alright, so we're higher, we're 2.1, dropping quickly though. It may stabilise at 1.8 or something perhaps. Maybe time to buy a new data logger. It's got plenty of life. It's looking good. Alright, I'll let it run and see what we get. Okay, we're 28 minutes into the run. The cell seems to have stabilised itself at 1.3 and it's bouncing up and down there. So it's holding strong. Its characteristics has changed, probably due to the extra resistance we added to the cell. So resistance is an important thing by the looks of it. I'm going to try 1 gram of 0.5 grams of binder on the next try. That'll be on a new video. This one's getting a bit long. Alright, I'll leave it. See what we get. Okay, back. We got 2 hours and 10 minutes from that run. 52 milliwatt hours, 44 milliamp hours. And a higher voltage bounce back this time, 1.4. Interesting. I'll give it another charge at a later date and we'll see if it's still doing the same. We're still down on our milliwatt hours. We did get to 70 without the carbon on the negative plate. But the graph, it sort of dropped and held 1.3 volts for a while. Nearly 40 minutes or something. And then it slowly went down. Something to do with the resistance, I'd imagine. Alright, I'll get back. Hi there, I'm back with the activated carbon on the negative cell. I given it a half-hour charge earlier for half hour, and we've been on We've been running 20 milliamps for 34 minutes now at 1.7 volts. It's well soaked in now. I think the cell may have been dry and I might have been an hour's charge, maybe too much for it. I'm yet to test that again. And it's holding its voltage quite well. It started off at 2.3, dropped down to 1.9 pretty quickly. And it's been sitting here at 1.7 for a while now, for 35 minutes. And I was able to back the binder down. I've got, this is the feather carbon on the negative plate, it will be. There's 2 grams of feather carbon, 0.5 grams of graphite and 0.5 grams of the cellulose acetate binder, and it's held up quite well. And I've checked the resistance, there's the little marks of the probe, and that comes out at 1.8 ohms, so it's looking better and it's actually held its form quite well. So you can get down to 0.5 grams of binder for 2 grams of carbon, or 2.5 grams of carbon. I could may try to reduce it, but I don't think I will. I'm quite happy with the results, or we'll test that cell out at a later date. I want to probably put an hour's charge back in this cell. When I applied the electrolyte to the negative plate this time, it sort of absorbed in really good. Much better than it did the first few times, so I think it's fully saturated now. It's got through the membrane. Alright, I'll get back. Okay, almost getting down to the voltage area where it will stop. 1 hour and 34 minutes on a 30-minute charge. We're 50 milliwatt hours, 32 milliamp hours. So, not too bad. I'll try another day when I get some time for an hour's charge and see how it goes, and then I'll swap over the negative pad with the feather carbon pad, and we'll see if we get better results with that. Alright, I'll be back. Okay, this would be the 7th run for the cell. It ran for 2 hours and 12. I think that's about standard, won't get any more. 67 milliwatt hours, 45 milliamp hours. That was with an hour's charge on the cell. So it's looking about that's maximum on the cell. So the next test I'll do is the feather carbon on the negative plate. That will be a couple of days away, so I'll get back when I do that one. Hi there, today I'm going to test out the new negative electrode. It's 2 grams of feather carbon, 0.5 grams of graphite and 0.5 grams of binder, cellulose acetate. We'll do a resistance. The meter clicks in at 0.4 ohms. It's quite low on resistance. Went down to 1.3 ohms, and it's not a bad binder, it's holding up. And that's only 0.5 grams and it's the feather carbon, so it's pretty good on resistance. Yep, 1.3 again. So I'll start soaking this now, and maybe later on today it might absorb in a bit quicker than the other one, and we'll see how that one runs. Alright, till then. Okay, I'm back with the results of the feather carbon on the negative side with the 0.5 grams of binder. The only thing that is noticeable is the graph itself. It doesn't like run for a while and rapidly drop off, so it's sort of holding it, but you're not yielding as much either in this. And I've had it's like the 4th test with this cell, and it's around about the same, 1 hour and 16 minutes on a hour's charge. The positive side cell's sort of decaying due to 3.4 volts going through it, which I shouldn't probably do, but I end up doing it anyway. So what I'll do now is flip the negative plate over, so it's just graphite, and we'll get another run as a comparison with no carbon on the negative side and see what happens, because it was functioning differently without carbon on that negative side. So I'm still not thinking it's a positive to have it on that side, Maybe if you had some sort of other zinc hexacyano in it, like a nickel or something, maybe it might work. But just plain feather carbon or activated carbon didn't seem to do much anyway, except for change the appearance of the graph. So I'll swap it over, give it some electrolyte, charge it for an hour, and I'll get back on the discharge. Okay, back. This run was with the negative turned around and just the straight graphite, so there's not much difference at all really with carbon on the negative side or no carbon on the negative side. Got 25 milliamp hours and 30 milliwatt hours and 1 hour and 12 minutes. The voltage is high on the bounce back, 1.2. So I'm gonna leave that experiment today and post this video. So thanks for watching, and I'll make some better ones later. Okay, the first batch is done, but I'm not sure if it really worked. I can't see any particles in there. No precipitation came out, but they're really fine and they're suspended. So we'll see what happens when it settles. This was the nickel sulfate I used. But it's from China, so they could have just did anything. Alright, I'll be back. This is my first batch of nickel hexacyanoferrate. I thought it would have went green, or maybe even a bluish colour, but it's turning into a dark tealish, reddish brown. Well, we'll see how it looks when it's finished.